How many media composers, film, TV, games composers, orchestral programmers, users of virtual orchestral instruments are there on the planet today? Well, being one, having spoken to thousands of them and sold a fair few orchestral libraries to a lot of them, I can safely say there's fucking bucket loads. So how is it we all have to use bits of improvised, homemade and repurposed kit to actually make these often really expensive bits of software actually work? Because the brief is simple: a MIDI controller with 2 or 3 sliders, ones we can assign to different MIDI CC controllers without using any proprietary software or cables. And if at all possible, could we have it so it was well built and hard wearing and felt nice, because we will have to have our left hands on it for the entirety of our professional lives. So when an advert sprang up on my Instagram feed for a new piece of desk candy called Conductor by Ghost Note Audio, a British company that predominantly sells stomp boxes, my interest was piqued. Would this, at long last, be what we were all waiting for? Something that we could work with every day, all day, take on the road with us with zero downtime, with no proprietary cables or software? Well, on unboxing, I was none the wiser. No branding, no manual, no link to a manual. It's nice to get something that feels exclusive, but this thing was keeping me guessing, a sexy, mysterious enigma. Until I opened the second one I'd bought, the one I'd bought for my tour bag, and this note popped out.
Hello, Christian. First of all, thank you so much for your order. I greatly appreciate you taking a chance on a new product and supporting a British business.
Hurrah!
On the off chance that I am wrong, please accept my apologies, but I believe you are the owner of Crow Hill Company and the co-founder of Spitfire Audio.
That is I.
I wanted to write you a quick note since your order is quite a serendipitous event for me, and I wanted to tell you why. I'm a long-time subscriber of your YouTube channel and have been following your work for years, and it was from one of those videos that I got the idea of developing this product. Thank you for all the amazing content you've produced. Keep doing great things. Best regards, Valdemir Erlingsson, Ghost Note Audio.
So what I wanted to do in this video is to talk to you about why producers, but particularly orchestral programmers, are obsessed with these things, how they use them, there's a few different scenarios, and whether this new controller, new to the market, is the real deal. Have they finally nailed it, got it right? Piano controller keyboards control everything that we make pretty much within computers. I mean, people use the odd drum pad, but 99% of what you hear coming out of doors that have been created with virtual instruments are with piano controllers. Now, they're good at controlling on and off. They're good at controlling soft and loud. But what they're not great at doing is controlling what happens midway through a note, which doesn't really matter for pianos that hammer a note or guitars that pluck. But for notes that are produced with bows and bellows, this is a profound part of their expression, something the piano is not designed to do. I'll demonstrate. Very pretty, but very still, compared to to make a noise out of a violin or a cello, or indeed a saxophone, is relatively easy. To make it sound nice requires a degree of expression, humanity, which is something pianos don't really do without the aid of one of these. Now, what I've got is 2 different controllers that I'm using here, the timbre and expression. I'll start with expression, a volume control but within the instrument itself. If I was to use volume, I'd simply be turning the plug-in up and down. With expression, I'm using a gain stage within the instrument so it doesn't cut everything out. So there's a degree of room reverb in there, and often things like release triggers, that kind of stuff. So it's a volume within the instrument or the virtual instrument itself. The second is timbre, and in the case of this instrument, what we're doing is we're using this fader to mix between two timbral layers, then playing quietly and playing loudly. So you'll hear both a change in perceived amplitude or volume, but also a change in the tone from something softer to something more expressive. Now, what's great about having these two controls combined is it gives us greater tonal expression, but it also allows you to cheat things. So take this sound, compare it with... Now, because those strings are being played with less vigour, less loudly, they have a softer sound, but naturally are also quieter. Versus... But with expression, we can use the quieter timbre and play it louder, as if the strings have simply been muted. So this next sound is interesting because we're imitating crossfading between different timbral layers or different recordings, where actually all we're doing is opening and closing a filter slightly. So compare this to this. But with the two combined, now it's really funny because that sounds odd to me, because these controllers, as far as I'm concerned, are the wrong way round. And what's even funnier is I think they're the wrong way around on our GUI as well. This brings me to the problems I've been having with these in the past. Proprietary software. There is no knob on this that enables me to change what that fader does versus what that fader does. So what I have to do is go into the internet and go to this thing called Ghost Note Audio Conductor MIDI editor, which you can find here on its website. Needless to say, there's no indication of that anywhere in the package when it's delivered to you. And this makes me less nervous than proprietary software because it's simply doing something called flashing, not in the rude sense, but it's using MIDI to basically give it a set of sysx information that this device then remembers. So what I'm going to do is actually reverse slider number 1 and assign MIDI controller number 11, which is expression, and 1, which is modulation for the second. I'm going to hit upload, there we go, and hopefully we will now have something that doesn't match the GUI, which is expression there, timbre there. Expression I use less than timbre because it is a way of often balancing voices within a section. Timbral control is such a fundamental part of expression, and when you get into instruments that have a greater number of dynamic layers, you'll really want much more scrutinizing control of that. And because this finger has a dedicated tendon, whereas this doesn't, this finger is more agile. So therefore, I feel much more comfortable changing the timbre like that as opposed to with this finger. The reason people put it the other way around is controller number order, I think. So that's 1, that's 11, whereas I think it should be 11 and 1, even if our GUI suggests it shouldn't be. You can hear the shifts and differences you can make in volume. What's absolutely fantastic about this device is that that's what I want. I want that degree of control from 0 to 127. It enables me to really be nuanced. Nothing's happening. We're just sustaining. But we've got so far to go. And because this is simple MIDI information, you can record it. And adjust whether we're using modulation or we're editing expression. So maybe what I want to do is make it a lot louder, but bring down the timbral harshness, make it more sensitive and silky sounding. Take away a bit of that. Or indeed, what I might want to do is really be a little bit more dynamic with how it's being played. It doesn't just apply to strings or things that are bowed, things that are bellowed, so woodwind, brass, or indeed stuff like accordions, organs. They will all sound strangely unfamiliar without you adopting these controls. But even with something like a piano, I can use this controller to enhance my performance. Say, for example, I wanted to change the distance that the microphones are from the keyboard whilst playing to alter the aperture and the emotional effect. Now, if I check here, I can see that's assigned to CC12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change this to CC12, flash the unit, and there we are. There's also this great effect here called fractals. So often with keyboard sounds, we just wouldn't it be nice to not to over sugar the pudding with those, to use those just like we did with the distance thing as a form of expression. So I'm just going to change this to, let's go, so this is 13 and then this is 14. So we're not messing with any controllers that have been set up there. Let's flash the unit and let's learn. So learn 13, learn 14. And so now I have control of the yoke. I've become so used to using these controllers that I will often use them on stuff like that. I find it so much quicker to work to picture. He looks and then winks. Being able to control those moments on a fly in a human level helps with the connection between the picture and the performance. And that's what, for me, composition is. Gesticulations and emotions and expressions are as part of the emotional tapestry of the story you're helping to tell, along with getting some great notes and putting them in a good order. Now, as for this piece of kit, what do I think? The build quality is fantastic. It does feel very much like a cottage industry piece of kit, but it's something I'm going to have my left hand on all day, every day, and it's something I like the feel of. It's got a good weight to it. It's got nearly the right USB port at the back. For me, everything's becoming USB-C, and I would find it so much more, I don't know, heartening when leaving my house with one of these that it was a USB-C as opposed to, I think that's a USB Mini, less common and therefore not so guaranteed to be replaceable if I've forgotten that lead. Conversely, it would also be great to just have a light to show us that it's come on, something, again, just a bit more comforting. I absolutely love the feeling of the faders. They have a really professional feel about them. It's not like a quick Neve desk, I don't know, maybe more API in sensation, but it just gives you just a little bit of pushback. And what's great about that is that enables smoother, more nuanced than with ones that have absolutely kind of zero feedback, where it's maybe just a little bit more natty. If I'd have my way, I'd spend a little bit more money on the faders and maybe they could be slightly bigger. But I guess the biggest gripe I've had over the past few years with the solutions that I've come up with is distance. That for me is not a natural finger position. That is. And the reason I say that is a lot of people don't realise that the piano is a very gendered instrument. The octave is designed to be played comfortably by a male hand, and for many women is actually a really difficult interval to play. So I think that we need to be cautious of that. I have quite a big stretch, so I can completely control the expression versus the timbre this way and that, but it's not comfortable. It's got these rubber feet, which is fine if you use them like that, but everyone I know uses them like that. So as you've heard, I'll probably have to come up with a solution that is maybe some blue tack, something like that. It would be great if the whole thing or the sides had this tacky stuff on, so it's stuck there. And I guess a good thing to do when developing these is to look at the average size or depth of keyboards. This for me feels average, maybe above average depth for most controller keyboards. When it's like that, it's absolutely brilliant. It really sticks, but I know most people use it like that. So is this my new controller? Yes, it is. As I say, I really love this reach for me as a luxury, and the feedback that you get, the friction you get is just perfect for creating smooth, nuanced expressions. It looks great, and I think it's going to stand the odd jolt, but I do like a light. Other than that, I just would encourage the guys at Ghost Note Audio to continue and take pride in your work, and I think there's no better sign of pride than expressing it in the shape of a little note. You gave me a note, but you didn't tell me how to use the thing, and some of us need our hands holding. We're not all space age super nerds, so for me I had to really do some investigating, which for others could be slightly frustrating. All we need is a QR code at the bottom. We can zap it, get the manual up, or indeed just a little card showing us how to use this, what to expect. But it's great to support a British company. This hasn't been made as an advert. I bought 2 of these myself, one for on the road, one to stay here, and I really look forward to using it. It's a fab bit of kit, and just best of luck with the enterprise, and I hope you don't get overwhelmed with orders now because of this video. Well, I do. Let's hope so.